country boy roams. Desert sands reminding him of home. Laid back eyes, cool as land. Leader born, they understand. Dusty is always walking tall. Through the heat, he heeds the call. Level head in the blazing sun. Hot as Hades, but cool as ice. He'll get it done. From the Nevada desert with skies so wide, to the battlefield where he's our guide. Rough hands, strong heart true. Every fight he's pulling through. Dusty is always walking tall. Through the heat he heeds the call. A level head in the blazing sun. Hot as Hades, but cool as ice. He'll get it done. Flamestone mice and dusty boots. He's the one to lead the troops. In the chaos, keeping cool. Desert trooper with a country soul. Dusty rolls with steady grace. Knows the secrets of the place. Through the nights and scorching days, guided by a country ways. Dusty is always walking tall. Through the heat he heeds the call. Level head in the blazing sun. Hot as Hades, but cool as ice. He'll get it done. With honor he'll brave the heat. His job, Cobra to beat. Beaten by neither weather nor foe. Like the shifting sands, he'll take them down like a pro. No joke.
Yo, Joe, listen up, I've got a story to tell about a guy named Logan. Oh, he's so swell. He's the G.I. Joe gamer. Cool and weird, talking about those characters, heroes and villains at midnight we shout. Yo, Joe, or Cobra, talking about the Joe team and a Cobra tie. Joe's got snake eyes, a silent ninja in black. Quick with his swords, he'll give you a heart attack. Then there's Duke the leader, so bold, gung-ho, always ready to fight and make those cameos. And we can't forget about Scarlet, the ultimate girl power. A fierce warrior, she'll make her enemies cower. Cobra's got Destro to supply the weapons. Cobra command, plots and schemes. She ruling the world in his dreams. Zartan is never what he seems. And Baroness rocks that black leather outfit. Shoots you quick and slip out the back of the head. Yo, Joe, Cobra, Logan's here to give his G.I. Joe taste. Oh yeah, yo, Joe, Cobra, don't be characters, it's a G.I. Joe thing.
Greetings, I'm Christopher Hilt, codename Logan, and welcome to Joe Takes number 7. Today on Joe Takes, we're talking about Dusty. Dusty's my ninth favorite, and just happens to be number 49 in the classified series. I thought that was interesting. Probably not interesting to anybody else but me, but that's where we're at today. So we're just going to jump right in, and first of all, we're going to check out the vintage Dusty figure. Now, Dusty, as we all know, came with this unique hamlock on the back of his helmet. And a hamlock is like a little protective skirt on the back that protects from the sun and from sand and all sorts of things. But they have them for jungle use and for desert, probably for all terrains. But I've really only seen them use it for the desert or in the jungle. But of the Joes, the only other character who ever used a hamlock, if I recall correctly, is Flint, and that was as the Desert Paratrooper. Now I have that figure, but this is Dusty's video, so perhaps in a different video I'll look at some environment troopers or something. Maybe I'll do a video about that. That sounds pretty cool. But today we're looking at Dusty. Now Dusty came out in 1985 in the fourth wave, as they call it nowadays. We never called them waves back in the 80s. That's a, as far as I know, a newer term for it. I mean, that may be something that the toy companies called it, but we never did. It was just that year's that year's team of Joes. But Dusty, this figure right here. I dropped the backpack, so we'll put that down. But yeah, we'll do a little comparison on the backpacks here in a minute, because it's an interesting comparison between it and the classified figure. But Dusty had these little identification tabs on his shirt. Now in the cartoon, on the one side it said G.I. Joe, on the other side it said Roodad. Now the action figure, they're just kind of blank, and you fill in with your imagination. Yeah, it was Ronald W. Roodad, if I remember correctly. Like near the end of the video, I will have the file card come up, but so you can pause and check that out. And his gun was also pretty iconic, and I don't think it was used by any other Joe but Dusty. And so when they did the classified update, that I did like the way they made it look similar. We'll check that out in a minute when I get to the classified figure. But in '91, Dusty got a new figure. Originally he was listed as an E4 specialist or corporal, the G.I. Joe team. He was their desert trooper, so he was their desert specialist. But in '91 he got this figure as an update. Now I used to have the 1988 version, Tiger Force, which just was a repainted version of the original. I used to add two of them at one point, but I pretty much just used them for parts and other things because I already had I mean, how do you top this Dusty right here? I mean, this was one of the coolest looking figures. I was excited when I bought this figure in the store, and I don't know. This Dusty figure, excuse me, is to me one of the best figures they ever made, really. And hats off to the design team, and Ron Roodad, I think, is the guy who designed Dusty, and even the artwork on the card was incredible. But this 91 figure, I actually liked. I mean, it had its issues. I mean, why the bright orange hair and eyeballs? I mean, they could have done the eyeballs black. They could have done the hair brown or even black, and we wouldn't even have noticed. But I definitely noticed the bright orange hair that they put on this figure. It's like, I just don't get it. I do like the beret. That makes him a Special Forces trooper, you know. But we all know that Dusty's a Special Forces guy. And we'll take note of that big backpack he comes with, because that's going to be important later. He came with a pistol, and his gun, I never even realized it, but as a kid, the significance of the sliding stock. Now, as an adult, I'm like, wow, that's pretty good for a kid's toy. I mean, they put that detail in there. The stock slides up and fits in the arm really well. I thought this was a well put together figure. I'll talk a bit more about his appearances in the Deke cartoon and his appearances in the Sunbow cartoon. But what was unique about this Dusty is he came with a coyote, and Sandstorm is just a little cool addition. It's like, yeah, sure, he's got a wild coyote, but Snake Eyes has a wolf, so wolf coyote. I think a coyote would be easier to deal with than they're only dangerous in packs, if I recall correctly. But that takes us to the classified figure. We're going to look at the box first here. Now, I showed this off a little bit in my Fridays from the Hill video as a preparation for this video here. Now, we know that Dusty is number 49 in the series, like I said, and that's on the top as well. This box art, I really like this box art. It's pretty good. I mean, from some of the other classified series box art, this one just is intense, and I actually will have this as a full page near the end of the video. That's how much I enjoyed it. But the back of the box was different. I mean, I know that he probably wasn't the first one to have the back, but I think this is the first one I'm taking a look at in my Joe Takes that has this box art. Now, the one I'm just curious as to why they didn't include for the Joes was Beachhead, but maybe it's because he was a Target exclusive, or in Toys R Us and in other countries. I don't know how that worked, but here in the United States, it was strictly Target or online, and I ended up acquiring my Beachhead on Amazon. So we can set that aside, and we'll jump in and take a look at the figure. Now, the classified Dusty, like a lot of people, some people like it, some people don't like it. I think it's a pretty good representation of the original figure. I mean, right down to the colors. Really, what he's missing, he's got a little bit of shading on his face, but the original Dusty had all this neat camo pattern even on his face. I think that was the first figure they actually gave him face paint to. I'm not 100% sure about that, but the first one I got, that's for sure. Now, like I said, on this gun, they did a good job of recreating that. Now, I lost the bipod of that probably the first week I had Dusty, but I wasn't aware of its significance, as a young guy. But the bipod on this, I don't think is going to be easy to lose, and it's a nice little stand so he can lay down and target foes. And this classified figure does pose really well. Now, what I was talking about with the backpacks is Dusty's original backpack doesn't. This classified one doesn't look anything like the original backpack, which is okay. I mean, it's a nice little update, but it actually looks more like the 91 backpack. I mean, it doesn't look exact, but it's got the bedroll at the bottom. It's got the canteens, and it looks more similar to this version than the original. Now, whether I was an homage or they just wanted to change it up, I don't know, but it fits this figure. Now, the thing I wanted to mention was a lot of people say that the helmet doesn't really fit on Dusty. Now, mine, look, as you can see, it's on there pretty secure, and it doesn't fall. I mean, a lot of people say it's loose. There is a trick for that, and a lot of reviewers have. I even saw one that helped me out. I was from the get-go leaving the smaller goggles underneath the helmet, but one of the YouTubers, I can't remember which one it was, and I apologize for that, but they showed me the trick that you turn it around, and so that it basically is like a mini headband, and you can't even see it under the helmet there. And it holds it in securely, and then you got the goggles on the outside so that you can display Dusty without the helmet with goggles if you want to. which is kind of cool because the smaller goggles, you turn it back around and they go over his face. So that way you can have the goggles on the figure, and so everything he's carrying is on the figure. And I really like that. I'm not alone in that, I'm sure. But then you got the knife in the boot. Now, on the original Dusty, the knife in the boot was on the left side instead of on the right side on the new one. But I guess they figured it made more sense that it was on the same side that his right hand was. I don't know, but it looks like a really good representation. And then they got the straps that match the backpack pretty well, which a lot of, I know HCC 788 complains about, but they don't have the straps that go on the figure and then around to the back to make it look like he's actually wearing a backpack. That never bothered me. Backpacks going into nowhere. Maybe it's Velcro. I don't care. I always had fun with it anyway. Once you get playing, I used to have a big old box full of backpacks, and I've been trying to go through all my old figures and get them all situated to each figure as an adult and a collector. But it doesn't matter when you're a kid. I had a gun pile, and I had a backpack pile, and that was all you needed, right? Well, now, I have them all separated, and I've been sorting them, and I've got a bag for rifles, and a bag for pistols, and a bag for cutting weapons, and handheld melee weapons, however that works, whatever you call that in the military sense. It's a combat knife, yes. It's not a dagger, it's a combat knife. I really like this figure. It's a nice update and an homage to the original. And the face sculpt is pretty good. As far as I'm concerned, I don't have anything to complain about this figure. I mean, I don't like to really dwell on the negatives anyway. I like to dwell on the positives, and this figure has a lot of positives. So that's where we're at with that. Now, as far as who Dusty is, like I had mentioned, he was an E4 specialist. I don't necessarily know that he was a corporal, but he always seemed to try to fill that leadership role, so maybe he was a corporal and not just a specialist. And then later on, he got the promotion to sergeant, so who knows on that front. But some of my, favorite appearances of him in the comic book, he didn't really have a lot of page frame time. In his first appearance with Mainframe, they had a really cool mission where they were trying to get some computer chips in some silo in one of the imaginary desert countries that Larry Hama came up with. None of that really mattered. It was all just fun, so long as they had a mission and they were heading out and they were doing their thing. And there was a young boy who just was idolizing Dusty because he was a real soldier, and that whole story arc came around full circle, and Mainframe turned out to be a total badass soldier as well, even though the kid didn't think so. But both those Joes made an impression on that kid. He later on he had his own story arc with Destro and stuff in the comics, and that was really cool. As far as the Sunbow cartoon, Dusty was in a lot of episodes, but he only really starred in like 2. Unless you count Satellite Down, I don't. That really was more of a Spirit episode. I consider that Spirit's main episode. A lot of people will go right to the Traitor, the 2-part episode, which was really good, where Dusty actually was put in a situation where he technically joined Cobra for a little while. Was even put on trial, and it was pretty cool. However, my favorite episode of Dusty was where he was actually paired up with Footloose, and the two of them had to bail out over the desert and were trapped in the desert for a while because the C-130 was too full, and Wild Bill said they needed to get rid of a few extra pounds, so they were like, "Oh, we're the few pounds," and the two of them jumped out over the desert. And the name of the episode was Hearts and Cannons, And the dynamic between the two, Dusty and Footloose, was really good. I liked the back and forth between them, how they were vying for the affection of the girl they rescued, who turned out to be this brilliant scientist. And I'm not going to spoil the episode for you because it's one of my favorites. If I were to make a top 10 of my favorite Sunbow episodes, that would be right in there. Now, when Dusty went over to the Sunbow line, he was in a few of those episodes, but they really weren't character driven. And it's hard to say, but it was nice to see him with Sandstorm in the Deep cartoon. So I said Sunbow, I meant Deep. But when they switched over to the other company to make the animation, the Deep episodes, as they say, I like a lot of those episodes. It's underrated, I think, but in a sense. But also there are some stinkers in that one. Especially in the second season. The first season was better, but there are some gems in that second season too. They didn't do all bad. So as far as Dusty's concerned, in the command structure of G.I. Joe or whatever, he really doesn't have a lot of command roles. He was in a lot of the special missions, and I like that. It was nice to see him on a team in special missions or working as command of quarters or something like that, watch commander duties. And so it was clear that Dusty, even in the comics, was working towards an NCO position. So that was kind of cool. Pyramid of Darkness, my first mission and I already got command duties, So Dusty seemed like he was always working for that leadership role. And that's kind of cool. But I always put him in for me, he's on my Fire Team Bravo, and his buddies are Bazooka and Airtight and and Barbecue. That's my Fire Team Alpha. But with things right now set up, we don't have a classified Airtight yet, so. If I ever do any more skits, I have actually scripted one, and I might do in the future. Lady J kind of takes that place, and Beachheads is like the Bravo leader, which in the skit in the Cobra Commander from the Hilt episode, if you want to check that out, Dusty's mentioned to that, and he's mentioned with Barbecue and Bazooka, along with Airtight as being members of Fire Team Bravo. Okay. Other than that, I think we've covered everything about Dusty that I really want to say. I do have fond memories of the character, and as I said, he's in my top 10. So I hope you enjoy this episode of Joe Takes. Logan out.
Move 'em now. Dusty, our country boy roams. Desert sands reminding him of home. Laid back guys, cool as land. Leader born, they understand. Dusty is always walking tall. Through the heat, he heeds the call. Level head in the blazing sun. Hot as Hades, but cool as ice. He'll get it done.
Yo, Joe. Code name. Dusty, Desert Trooper. File name, Ronald W. to do it. E5 Sergeant, U.S. Army. Birthplace, Las Vegas, Nevada. Primary specialty, infantry. Secondary specialty, refrigeration and air conditioning maintenance. Qualified expert. M16, M14, M19, 11A1, M16 preferred weapon, A22 selective fire long range fully automatic assault rifle combat. Best Dusty is a desert survival specialist on the G.I. Joe team. He is an expert in how to survive extreme temperatures, lack of water, and the many other hazards that threaten anyone who ventures into the inhospitable desert areas. He makes sure the team is fully prepared as missions take them to arid regions in search of Cobra. Dusty loves the desert. It is clean, pure, and unforgiving, unlike Vegas, which is always willing to give you a second chance. Dusty was working as a refrigerator repairman and studying desert ecology at night when his pre-enlistment application for the G.I. Joe team was approved. He took basic at Fort Bliss, Texas, and loved every minute of it. From General Hawk's files, it's not enough nowadays to have a rapid reaction force responsive instantaneously to explosive situations in far-flung corners of the globe. That force must be capable of surviving in a diverse array of hostile environments to accomplish its objectives. If that means having one expert for every type of environment, every team can take on survival responsibilities on that terrain, so be it. If the enemy thinks they can hide, they're wrong. I can sneak up on them at the right time and show them some real heat. Training to be a soldier is the toughest task you'll ever take on, but it's also the greatest. The heat ain't so bad if you don't move.
G.I. Joe is the code name for America's daring, highly trained Special Mission Force. Its purpose? To defend human freedom against Cobra, a ruthless terrorist organization determined to rule the world.
G.I. Joe.